What's up, friends? It's Davin. I'm back for another episode of the Free Your Voice, Free Your Life podcast. And today I want to talk to you about momentum. Now, this is a word that I've been thinking about a lot over the last year and a half or so, but particularly this last year as I decided in 2024 that I would declare momentum my word of the year. And I have to say, it's been pretty illuminating. And here we are in June, about halfway through the year, and I find myself ready to share with you some of my thoughts, feelings, ideas about this word and why it might be helpful and or relevant to you on your journey of growth, expansion, stepping more fully into your voice, your freedom, your authenticity. So here's the deal. I'm going to begin by offering you an image, which is not mine. I'm stealing this. It's from the teacher Abraham Hicks, and I have found this image to be helpful in considering the reality of momentum and how so many of us treat it. But imagine you're at the top of a hill, like a significant hill, and you had your car there, and you took your car out of park, and you weren't in your car, and you were just curious looking down the hill. There's lots of open space. You were curious, though, what would happen if you pushed the car a little bit. And so you get brave. You're feeling risky. And so you give the car just a little bit of a nudge from the back and it starts to roll. And in that moment, you see all of the various possibilities of what could happen to that car flash before your eyes. And so you decide before things really get rolling to jump in front of the car and stop it, because without the momentum that the car could gather, you still have the capacity just with your body to step in front of it and stop it. And so you put the brakes on and you realize, maybe that wasn't the idea that I needed to engage. And so there, you learned your lesson. This is what so many of us do with choices, decisions, moments of change in our life. And it's a really salient, important image to consider. Just to begin with, to even ask yourself, what are the aspects of my life? What are the areas of my life in which I'm jumping in front of the car? I'm actually not even willing to let it get rolling to see what happens. Because here's the thing. Once the momentum gets going enough, you couldn't jump in front of it and stop it. You would have to just sort of witness the repercussions of your choice. And that feels scary. What kind of damage could that car do? What are the possibilities that could unfold? I see this so often in my coaching practice, and I've been thinking about this a lot. The reason I wanted to bring this to you now is because I've been thinking about it a lot lately as it relates particularly to people who have been working with me for a while. So if you're listening to this and you're one of my coaching clients and you've been hanging out with me for a while, this might be especially relevant to you, but I think we all experience it at various stages in our journey of growth, healing, development, transformation. It's tricky to really trust the universe when it comes to the power of momentum. It's tricky to trust that the universe has your best interest in mind. And in fact, if you say to the universe that you believe something is useful in terms of healing, in terms of change, in terms of a choice, if you actually express your wants, needs, and desires, it's tricky to trust that the momentum will always work out in your favor. In fact, you might hear me say that and not believe that it's true, and I just say, cool. But I want you to know that as a part of a fundamental belief that I have about my life, and actually this ties into my belief in the fundamental goodness of humanity and the divine order of our lives, that no one's life is not without some necessary series of events that lead to the fulfillment of what it is that we're on here on earth to do, to create, to make, to positively impact others, to leave a positive benefit on that which we come into contact with. I believe that because of this fundamental trust in the goodness of the universe and the goodness of all things, that momentum, were I to be brave and bold enough to let it transpire, will always yield sometimes unexpected, yet positive, overarchingly positive results. Now, that's not to say that there won't be accidents along the way. That's not what I'm saying. But what I see most often is that most of us, myself included, thwart the momentum because we don't trust the outcome. So think about this in your life. You have some experience. Something happens. It could be positive, it could be negative, but it feels like the catalyst for change. Maybe you went to a retreat, or maybe you had just a positive experience. Like, let's say you went to a concert and you walked away from the concert and you're like, you know what? I want to be a performer. That is actually what I feel called to do. Or you go to a retreat and you get clarity about a relationship. And you're like, I don't believe that this relationship is the healthiest space or place for me to be in. Or let's say that you just have success at work and you recognize that if you were to continue to point your energies in this direction, it might yield something for you that feels really satisfying. But what happens is there's a momentum, an energy, a pulse, a shift that comes with that experience in that moment that often leads us to action. So you might seek help. You might seek a coach to help you move in that direction. And there's an excitement that comes with that. But ultimately, that excitement is as simple as that initial push of curiosity on the car in neutral, potentially rolling down the hill. But what I've observed so often is that as soon as that car gets rolling, it's the instinct of most of us to stop it, to jump right in front of it. And that initial push, there's not like a specific timeline around that. I think about that. That could be, quite a short experience, or that could be something that takes place over months. It's the thing that inspires action. It's the thing that inspires forward motion. But it in and of itself is not momentum, because momentum is not something that you create. It's something that you allow to co-conspire with in your favor. See, that initial push, that's actually the easy part. And again, there's usually some event in your life that will inspire it. It could be a daydream in a shower. It doesn't have to be a significant event, or it could be a life-threatening illness or an accident. But that thing, that's the catalyst for the idea. That's the inspiration for change. And that first little bit of inspired action you take, we've all been there. Like when you buy the gym membership and you're like, I'm back at the gym. This time it's for real. I'm going to get ripped. Or you're like, I'm finally going to learn how to play piano. Or I think I'm actually going to let go of this job that I hate going to every day. But when you do, there's this energy of trust. There's this energy of surrender that needs to be in relationship to the inspired action that is necessary for the momentum that you need to actually achieve the feeling, the experience that you're looking for. See, I've talked to you about this a lot. When we want change, there's the intellectual idea of what we want. But all any of us ever want, all you really want, I can't say this enough because I think it's such a big deal. All you want is a feeling. And you'll convince yourself that this thing, this situation, this opportunity, this relationship, that it will give you the feeling. And it might be a part of your journey toward the feeling, but the feeling is something that you have access to right now. I'm sorry, I mean to say that it might be a part of your journey toward recognizing the feeling, toward consistency in the feeling. But I want you to know that the feeling is something that you have access to now. But what you might not understand is the growth of that feeling is dependent upon your relationship to your belief in the fundamental goodness of the universe, and that the outcome of your life, the outcome of your day, the outcome of this moment is inspired by this fundamental goodness. And if you can let go, if you can let the car roll, you might be just shocked, flabbergasted, delighted, surprised by what the outcome is. Now, have you ever heard this phrase? People are less afraid of what they won't get and more afraid of what they actually want. I used to hear people say that, and I thought it was kind of like, I don't know, it just didn't line up in my head. But I'm starting to realize that that is absolutely the truth for so many people that I work with. And it's been the truth for me in the past. Because if you got what you want, if you got the feeling that you're looking for, how would you act differently? How would you behave differently? See, what happens is we get the car rolling, we get that initial push, we get that energy, and the momentum starts to go, and we go, oh, whoa, this is going to mean something big for my life. This is going to mean real significant change. We catch just the slightest glimpse of that. And as soon as we do, we jump in front of the car and we construct a story that says that wasn't maybe what we wanted. and I'm not saying that's always untrue, but I see that as a protective mechanism or a defense mechanism of actually allowing the momentum to carry you toward what you want. Because if you got what you wanted, you would have to change your whole life. You would have to reorient how it is that you are in the world. You would have to consider your relationships differently. You might have to move. You might have to quit the job. You might have to actually dig in deep and work hard at pursuing the thing that makes you feel good. I see over and over again that people get that initial spark, that initial energy, that initial inspired action, and they get excited, and then they catch a glimpse. Because especially in coaching, like the first couple sessions, they're just like, oh yeah, this feels great. So good. I can't believe I'm learning this. This is exciting. They get motivated. They go home. They practice. They work. They do all the work. They really start to consider things. But then something happens. They jump in front of the car. They jump in front of the car. And maybe I jump behind the car and keep pushing it a little bit and say, look out. Don't get in front of it. It's rolling. But that jumping in front of the car, I believe, is tied to a deep-seated fear around actually receiving what it is that you're worthy of receiving. I believe that that is tied intrinsically to a wound that you carry that says you're not allowed to have this. You're not allowed to feel this way. This is insurmountable. This task is too large. And it requires a trust that the momentum can carry you through what feels insurmountable, what feels too big, what feels overwhelming, what feels like it's too late, what feels like it'll cost too much, what feels like you don't have enough time to accomplish. That, my friends, is a fundamental flaw in our understanding, and it's tied to ego. It's tied to the myth of separateness. It's tied to a belief that there's something fundamentally wrong with you. And if you've never heard it from anyone else, let me be the one to say it's not true. You're perfect exactly how you are. You don't have to change anything about you. But if you want to continue to flourish and grow, you have to know deep in your being that when things feel most wild, when things feel most crazy, is likely when you're in the midst of the most significant change, when you're likely moving most quickly toward that which you want, when you likely have the opportunity to become most connected to the feeling that you're looking for. I mean, what if you really got what you wanted? In my world, particularly around the voice and singing, a lot of people have aspirations around performing, around becoming a professional musician. And most of them have been given a narrative from an early age that that's not possible for them. So, are you willing to even consider that it is possible? Are you willing to believe that you live in a world of infinite possibilities and that you are not separate from that? Like, you're not different than every other human on this planet, in that there are some fundamental things about being a human that are related and connected to how it is that you're able to move throughout the world. If you considered that as true, what action would you be willing to take? What what are you willing to receive? See, here's the thing about momentum. And this is what I'm very, very much experiencing in my own life. And I'm just going to keep it 100 with you here. Like, I really look forward to more momentum. But I hear in my own um, thoughts about that I'm not trusting that the momentum that I have currently around particularly creative and aspirational professional endeavors and aspirations, I'm not trusting that the universe holds that I am able to accommodate what it is that I have access to, and that more might be beyond me right now. I keep thinking I'm ready, but I have to trust that I receive what I'm ready for. And so I think about this a lot in my own life. Every time I want to hit the gas harder, I have to recognize that in doing so, I'm actually creating resistance. See, often we think we're hitting the gas, but we're actually hitting the brake, because the car in neutral, in relationship to the hill, it'll go at the speed that it can go. It'll go at the speed that momentum allows. But the theory of momentum is that it always picks up more speed. It always continues to get faster. And sometimes we go, I got to get out of this car. It's too much. I've ridden the momentum far enough. Great. But I'm curious if you would let yourself have that experience, what that might be like for you. What might that mean for your life? Can you stop jumping in front of the car? Can you stop going, nah, this isn't going to happen. This isn't going to happen for me. Can you let go of the narrative that you're somehow special, in that things don't work out for you, that you can't achieve what you want? Can you let go of that bullshit? I learned early on in my coaching career to not count anybody out. Because as soon as you meet someone that you think, oh, I don't know if they're going to be able to do this, they will prove your ass wrong. And a lot of times, the people that seem to have all the pieces in place, they can be their own worst enemy in terms of slowing the whole thing down. You know, there's a real gift to having some ignorance. There's a real, how do I say this? There's a real joy in being a little bit delusional. Because in order to find your happiness, in order to find your joy, in order to find your aspirations, you can't operate out of the playbook that you've been operating out of, that's based in rationality. You have to look beyond the rational. You have to allow the car to gain momentum as it goes down the hill, even though everything in you thinks it's going to crash. You have to be able to find your way into something that is just a little bit past the story that you've been given, that this plus this equals this. It's more magical than that, my friends. There are more surprises and more delights that await you. And you have to use all of your attention and energy into moving into that spirit of trust, spirit of allowing, spirit of receiving. Efforting, pushing, squeezing, manipulating, forcing, these are simply acts of resistance. Your life will be so much easier if you can allow for the momentum to carry you. Sometimes this means doing absolutely nothing for an unknown period of time. Sometimes this means stopping completely. That thing that you've been working so hard at and you haven't achieved yet, maybe it's time to give it a beat. Pause. Maybe there are some things you think you know, but you're not exactly clear on, and you just need to ride the ride a minute to see what it actually is. Or maybe you feel like you've had a series of false starts. Time and time again, you've put the pieces in place, you've given the car a little bit of a nudge, but you keep jumping in front of it over and over again. My friend, you only have this one precious life. What if this time you take the full risk? What if you really take the action that you need and you actually keep riding it through? And what if that action, it inspires more action? And the action that's inspired, it doesn't make any sense to you. You don't have any idea why you're feeling called to do this, why you're feeling called to go there, why you're feeling called to reach out to this person, why you're feeling, but you follow it. You follow your intuitive knowing because that's what momentum does. It gives you a deeper sense of purpose and knowing and alignment because it is contingent upon allowing, receiving, allowing, receiving, letting go, letting go, letting go, letting go, letting go, letting go, letting go. I really do feel this in my own life in a way like I never have before, and I have become more aware of the ways in which even simple conversations I would have had in the past would have been me jumping in front of the car, where someone would offer me an idea. Davin, you should give this a try. And I would immediately reach them with a, yeah, but. Or I would even in my own mind have dreams, aspirations, ideas, and they would be thwarted so quickly with my practical response. Well, that can't happen because, or that's not likely because, or you name it. I'm done doing that. I'm so done doing that. Call me delusional. I don't care. I really don't care because you know what? It feels so much better to dream big. And it feels even better to trust that those dreams are worth having because they inevitably will come true if I allow them to do so. It feels so much better to not have to drive the car, to not have to push, to not have to steer, to not have to. And it's not to say that you're a passive participant. This isn't about that, but it's about a fundamental connection to the spirit of allowing and receiving. I talk about this so often when I work with people with their voice and singing in particular, because there is often this misunderstanding around effort. The effort feels necessary, and it 9 times out of 10 isn't. The efforting comes from a place of desire for control, whereas when one sings freely, they feel like they're allowing. They feel like the sound is flowing through them. They feel like they don't have to push. They don't have to squeeze. They don't have to manipulate. Their throat doesn't have to hurt when they're done. But if that's your norm, if that's how you're used to being, it takes a real big switch. But what I found is if I can give you just a taste of that switch, if I can just show you a glimpse of how easy it can be, it becomes like an addiction. It becomes a portal. And this is what I've experienced in my own life, that once you've opened that next chapter, the conversation in your head is completely different. I'm not having those conversations that are the yeah, but conversations. I mean, don't get me wrong, they pop up, but I see them so quickly and I realize that they feel squeezed, they feel manipulated, they feel like my effort to control, and I'm not doing it anymore. I believe in my purpose. I believe in my ability to be in the world in an illuminated state, offering the gifts that I have. And I believe that the next gift and the next gift will come to me, and I will be able to receive it because I'm also sharing my gifts with the world. It's an exchange. It's an exchange that we all have the possibility of participating in. We can all show up to the party and give and take and give and take, and it goes back and forth. But you have to participate. You have to show up for the party. You have to be willing to receive the gift, and you have to bring yours, and you can't keep them hidden. You have to let go of the story that you don't have something special to give, or that yours isn't quite special enough that you'll get the opportunity. You have to be willing to step into an abundant space, a space that allows for the momentum to carry you into the goodness of who it is that you are. You also have to be willing to interact with the world around you. You can't stay in isolation. This is a really important fact because whenever we slow the car down, we're always the only one slowing it down. So often we believe that it's others. But when we allow for the momentum to take over, that is when we will feel most connected to others. When we stop, when we find ourselves in a place of resistance, we will meet the opportunities with increased isolation or increased separateness. Now, I don't mean to make this sound easy. I don't mean to make it sound hard. Because there are aspects of this that are both of those things. But what I want you to know is that while some of this might feel uncertain and uncomfortable, if you allow yourself to move down the path of which I'm encouraging you, I can promise you it feels good. I can promise you it feels good, that you'll feel good about who it is that you are, what it is that you're doing in the world, what it is that you're offering, and you'll be so surprised at what you've been able to accomplish through receiving, through just simply keeping your arms open and saying yes. And when you find yourself down that path of resistance, when you find yourself caught in the story of maybe this is too much, maybe I can't overcome this turns out it's a lot harder than I thought it was going to be, I just invite you just for a moment to stop and take a breath and notice where you are. Notice where you are in perspective to where you've come from. And ask yourself where it is that you envision yourself being. And what aspects of that are present for you right now? One of the things I do so often in coaching work is just simply remind people from whence they've come. I feel like every session I'm saying, but look what you've done. Look how far you've come. And they go, yeah, but. They jump right in front of the car. I'm like, this car is rolling. And yet you want desperately to jump in front of it. Yeah, but can you just see where you are? You've grown so much. You've overcome so much. There's been so much difficulty in your life. There's been so much resistance along the way. There have been people, there have been situations, there have been obstacles, and you've overcome so much because you have a belief in your possibility, your fundamental goodness, the opportunity that the universe has promised you. You have a belief, so you keep pushing forward. And I just want to encourage you to stop the pushing and now start allowing. Now sit back and receive. Even more importantly, enjoy. Enjoy the fruits of your labor. Give yourself a pat on the back. Give yourself a warm, congratulatory hug. Look what you have created. Look what you've created. Look at all of this beauty that you are a part of. My friend, are you ready? Are you ready to allow the momentum to take over? Are you ready to give up the need to always be driving and controlling and hitting the brake and shifting the gear? What if I told you that if you do, it might be a wild ride, but it will inevitably end up in the perfect place for you? the perfect place for you. In fact, you might get exactly what you want. I hope you see me living this out in my life. It's my attempt, it's my goal. And I hope this feels resonant and connecting for you today. And I hope that you're able to move through the rest of your day with this in mind. Just taking an evaluation of some of the stories that might come up about what's possible for you. And I just want to say I appreciate you. I really appreciate you spending this time with me. And I love this space. And I love the people that gather around these conversations. If you're in or around Chicago, I've got some events coming up here. I'm going to be at the Joinery for Summer Solstice Sound Experience on June 20th. There are only 10 spots left for that, so you can learn more at davinyoungs.com. On July 11th, I'll be at the Ravinia Festival, bringing the Reset, my signature immersive sound experience. July 21, I'll be in Nashville at the Nashville Symphony Orchestra. I haven't got these posted yet because I'm still waiting for the tickets to get posted, but in August, I'll be in Charlotte, North Carolina, and in Denver. Chicago Circle Singing is happening again on June 12th. Would love to have you be a part of that. And I've got some other stuff that I'll announce for later on in the summer and the fall. But yeah, really exciting stuff happening here. All right, my friend. Love you. Appreciate you. Big hug. Big, warm, congratulatory hug around everything that you've accomplished. And may you continue to allow yourself to receive all of the momentum that the universe has in store for you. Until next time, peace.